Her rideshare receipt said drop-off Arcadian, and he split the fare. The email arrived with the breezy entitlement of a brand that assumes we're friends. "Thanks for riding," the subject said, followed by Naomi's name and the little confetti emoji the app uses when it wants to pretend we celebrated something together. Our family inbox, set up long ago for receipts and school notices, and the occasional emergency vet bill, had dutifully filed it under shared. I was reheating leftovers and pretending the microwave's countdown was immoral when the notification slid over my lock screen. Drop-off, Arcadian Hotel, 9th Avenue. Under it, in smaller type the way apologies dress themselves, fare split with Rowan C. It's the C that did the work. Men like him live inside the alphabet like a concealed weapon. He curates checks and rooms and narratives, remembers people the way rich restaurants remember allergies. Navy coat, careful posture, the practiced benevolence of those who believe inevitability is an art form. I have met him 3 times. I learned almost nothing I didn't already dislike. Naomi had texted at 8, panel, donors, quick drink, don't wait up, with the green heart she uses when she wants me to collaborate with her lateness. The algebra is predictable now. She returns after midnight with rain in her hair and a lanyard still around her neck like a chore, and we practice reconciliation as a language that belongs to us. We keep getting better. We keep getting tested. I opened the receipt. Minute-by-minute traffic, a line of gray dots, our neighborhood shrinking behind a map that thought it was helpful. Pick up near the cultural center. A pause at a corner where taxis come to retire. Then the blue line bending toward 9th. The app was proud of the route in the way children are proud of a drawing that accidentally looks like something. At the bottom, the pettiest boast. Split fare confirmed. The microwave declared the leftovers edible. I didn't touch them. I went to the sink, turned the water on for no reason, and watched it run the way a person watches themselves not do anything brave. The apartment smelled like tomato and basil and the moral complications of reheated dinners. Our dog padded in, looked at my posture, yawned, and decided the situation required only patience. I did the one useful thing I know how to do after dark. I walked to Loom. Loom is a cafe that forgives your worst ideas so long as you bring them early. It smells like orange rind and reprieve. The lights are warm enough to make you believe you're decent and bright enough to keep you honest. Anna stood behind the counter wiping a clean surface, sleeves rolled, the pale crescent scar on her wrist catching the light like a soft alarm. She saw my face and poured water without dignifying my silence. "Which app wrote your biography?" she asked. "Rideshare," I said. "Drop-off Arcadian split with Rowan." Anna's mouth tilted, not unkind. "Spectacle is a sugar crash," she said. "Mara's in the corner, she'll tell you to bake." Mara sat with her red scarf folded into compliance, a notebook flattened by a rubber band, eyes that collect accurate mistakes. I slid into the chair across from her and placed my phone face up like a reluctant witness. She listened to the whole thing, receipt, split, our polite inbox, my not-quite-tanger wearing a suit. And when I finished, she gestured toward the device the way a priest gestures toward a chalice. "Bread or sugar?" she asked. "Bread," I said, because I've learned to pronounce survival in monosyllables. "Good," she said. "Go home. Lamp on, phone on the table, door unlocked for accuracy, not for guests. Ask for one sentence you can live inside. Do not audition for injury in a lobby you don't own." "Do I reply to the email?" I asked. "It wants a rating." "Rate your marriage," she said, dry enough to be a benediction. I tipped her with gratitude I'm paying off by not making a scene in public and walked east. The Arcadian's awning tried to convince the rain it had manners. Under it, Navy. Of course. He looked across the avenue and saw me because the night like symmetry. He gave me the benevolent smile men practice when they want to license each other. "You're lucky," he said when I got closer, "because that's the single benediction men like him keep in their pockets." "I trained," I said, and kept walking before he could audition for human. At home, I turned on one lamp, the kitchen lamp, the one that makes the table tell the truth, and set the phone face up where we keep our modest bravery. The dog watched me the way creatures do when they have learned rituals are more important than explanations. I unlocked the door because Mara says accuracy is kinder than dignity. I stood with my hands flat on the wood as if my palms could warm it into a better memory. Naomi came in at 12:27 with drizzle in her hair and the lanyard still around her neck like a reluctant necklace. She closed the door softly, saw the lamp, the phone, my posture, and did the expression of someone who has been underwater and intends to come up politely. She glanced at the table. The subject line stared back. "Receipt," she said, "the way you name a stain." "Drop off," I said, "split." She leaned her hips against the counter like she was choosing a jurisdiction. "Accuracy," she said. "Please," I said. "Also touch, but I can wait." "Touch first," she said, and the please lived in her mouth without needing to be announced. We didn't go to bed to erase a map. We went because bodies can keep promises our mouths struggle to remember. She stood in front of me, and I raised the zipper of her dress slowly. Exact. The motion we practiced for nights we intend to be precise. The fabric made that small, honest sigh clothes make when they remember they are costumes. She placed my palm at her hip and pressed until stay became grammar. I kissed the hinge of her jaw where her certainty keeps breathing, and she said my name in the version that means keep. We asked our short questions, here, slower, more, and answered in breath, the one language that never tries to impress a third party. We laughed once because a sleeve attempted theater and she rescued me with her teeth. Heat arrived like tide. We met it where we always do, competent, unsurprised, grateful. When we came apart together, the room looked relieved, like it had decided to keep working for us. After the ceiling remembered its job, Naomi lay with her cheek on my chest and drew a circle over the place where my worst ideas nap. "Accuracy," she said. "Yes," I said. "He offered to split because he likes to be thanked by software," she said. "He asked the driver to stop at the Arcadian because donors always want to pretend coincidence is fate. He said he was returning me to my context after the panel, which is a phrase I wish I had not heard outside a graduate seminar. I told him I had a train to catch. He called the car anyway. I sat in the back and texted you that emoji because I am a coward who wanted to watch myself be good." "You went inside," I said, keeping my voice in its crate. "I went into the lobby because it was raining and I wanted to see if wanting looks cheaper under expensive light," she said. "It does." I told him good night with a sentence that didn't make room for the kind of rebuttal men think they've earned. I watched the elevator make itself available to me, and I left before it could finish auditioning. "Why split?" I asked. "Because I didn't have cash and I didn't want to owe him a sentence," she said. "Because I wanted the app to be the one to feel responsible. Because I am tired of being the only adult in rooms designed to congratulate men for showing up." I exhaled because a person has to. The dog repositioned his head on his paws the way courtroom artists draw consensus. "I am not pure," she added, before I could decide to say it for her. I wanted to be walked upstairs by a story that made me look interesting. Then I remembered I prefer being kept by a kitchen. I am trying to be someone who likes my own boring. "We need rules," I said, "because ritual is what keeps my chest from inventing theater. Tools, not bars." She smiled the way she does when we become our better selves on purpose. We went back to the table. I opened the email and tapped "Rate your ride" and gave it the most honest number available. No stars for the part where the city tries to pretend inevitability is an amenity. 5 for the driver who had the sense to look at me in the mirror and not choose sides. Then we wrote on the back of the receipt with the pencil in the drawer that refuses to die. 1. The app doesn't split anything we haven't spoken about here first. If a donor wants to be generous, they can donate their quiet. 2. If rain forces a lobby, it does not earn a room. 3. Novelty is a chore. Your weeks, wrong hour for the right thing. My weeks, move the furniture until the light has to remember us. 4. When either of us misses being escorted by the wrong gaze, we say it out loud and then do 3 stupid, ordinary things until the wanting is house-trained. Peel oranges over the sink. Play one song to the end before anything important. Kiss in the doorway so the apartment believes us. We did them because midnight behaves for checklists. We peeled oranges. The bright smell made the room stop trying to guess the future. We played the song that knows the difference between apology and talent. We stood in the doorway and kissed until the pipes clicked like elderly witnesses, swearing we were telling the truth. In the morning, I turned off auto-splitting on the app and removed every card that didn't belong to our kitchen. I renamed my profile to something that made me laugh, bread not sugar, and set a filter to send any receipt with Arcadian to a folder named Museum. Naomi made coffee and read me a student paragraph about restraint that didn't make either of us want to change professions. Discipline is desire with paperwork, she said, rolling her eyes at herself and smiling because she likes a sentence that risks being earnest. At lunch, I took the long way past the Arcadian out of respect for superstition. Under the awning stood Navy, talking to a woman who looked like a question she hadn't rehearsed the answer to. He saw me, put on benevolence, and said, "You're lucky, because men like him don't know any other blessing." I trained, I said, and kept my back for the person who had earned it. I went a loom because victory tastes better named by Anna and ignored by Mara, which is how she says continue. Anna slid me a cookie I pretended to refuse. "Bread," she said, tapping the counter like an oath. Sometimes the world still pitches me sugar. The calendar suggests a focus block at 2 like attention is an app. The TV autoplays a show where people win because they say the funny thing on time. The Ride app wants to round up to charity to prove we did something noble by not walking. We put whatever it is on the table, turn on one lamp, and ask for one sentence we can live inside. It keeps being enough until it isn't, and then we add a rule instead of a scene. On Thursday, Naomi texted from 2 blocks away, "Bring a lemon to Loom. Sister failed at tea." I did. Her sister cried into pastry and then laughed at herself in the voice I know Naomi loves most. We walked home in a rain that had decided to be weather instead of plot. That night we moved the couch 2 inches and the light forgot and remembered us, which is how you know a room is yours. Last night, alone for an hour I didn't want, I opened the Ride app and changed one more setting, the petty one, profile photo off. I don't need my face smiling up from the corner of a receipt that wants to test us. I set a scheduled ride for Saturday morning that read simply home to Market. Naomi came in with the lanyard in her pocket instead of around her neck, looked at the phone on the table and the lamp doing its job, and said, "Accept." Like a person who has learned to treat verbs as invitations. I hit yes. We went to the doorway because that is where our small audience lives, and then to the room where language stops trying to explain itself. The ceiling forgave us for practicing again. The dog negotiated his share of our better mood. We are not pure. We are particular. The apps will keep trying to narrate our nights with confetti and shame. Men in Navy will keep offering to carry a portion of our lives back to our door and wait there with entitlement arranged. We will keep doing the work that makes their efforts irrelevant. One lamp, one table, one rule written on the back of whatever arrived with the worst timing, oranges peeled, a song to the end, a doorway that claps when we kiss, and a map that learns one route on purpose. A ride home, split with no one.